More to Marketing. Welcome to More to Marketing, the podcast about marketing, product, and everything business. I'm your host, Susan Walsh, and today we're going to be having the topic of AI-native product organizations. What are the tools, rituals, and hard lessons that we can learn from? Now, this isn't hype or surface level demos we're talking about here. We're talking about real operating models where AI handles automated workflow orchestrations, generates insights on demand, and turns prototypes around in hours instead of weeks. Product teams are shrinking, timelines are compressing, and complexity is actually starting to make things collapse. But there can be some good trade-offs that can happen and some bad ones. Some of the more brutal trade-offs could be quality risk, exploding tech debt, and also the talent mismatch, particularly if you're not getting the right rituals in place. So we're going to deep dive in this topic to see what we can learn and not let ourselves drown in those Jira or Asana tickets, and see what we can do to help each other learn more. So first off, the core shifts reshaping product organizations today. Now, we've got things called traditional squads, right? So they're like 10, 15 people grinding through stand-ups, handoffs, and let's face it, there's also analysis paralysis going on. Now, the new world is saying that AI native teams flip this, and it has 4 to 8 people augmented by agents that own 60 to 70% of the execution. There's also handy things like backlogs get auto-prioritized by impact, effort, and risk. I'm just going to say it's automatically, so you don't have to manually keep going into it. Pulling live usage data, feedback, and market signals. And of course, A/B testing. Now, AI designs variants, predicts lift, potentially can draft comms, maybe. Some of them might be okay-ish. And then they also can help look into insights that a human may miss. So you've got the fusion from telemetry, support tickets, competitor scans, and also just that churn model, maybe even updated to an hourly, depending if you need that. And roadmaps also self-adjust. Now, there are some tools out there that help us, but with AI, some of this is becoming a bit more fluid. Now, for the marketing team, heads up, product-led growth can pull you deeper in to get what's needed for the consumer. Positioning, onboarding, pricing, experimenting, they can now be made more live and have the same AI type loop as an engineer. One prompt can split out PRDs, wireframes, growth hypotheses, all sorts of things. But without governance, and it's important to have governance, it could scale into chaos. So you've got to ensure that your model doesn't drift and that there isn't a whole pile of flaws put in there from bad data. Now, a real day in the life of a mid-stage SaaS that's gone AI native. How does that look? This is really interesting when I was looking into it and doing a bit of research and finding out how it actually does work in the real world. So this is an example that I got after merging in a whole pile of models. So here we go. So 8:30 a.m., the agent does a health check. It unifies dashboards and does a full observation, not just a few notions. Scans overnight traces, deprioritization, hallucinate, is there junk features, model drift, how's churn going? MPs are flagged issues, approvals are escalated, and this is all done in 15 minutes. 9 a.m. comes around. Of course, stand-up happens. PMs and engineers refine agent instructions. Might be a few little tinkering bits to be there. Yesterday's prototype might have skipped doing something, adding in some error handling, etc. So test, iterate, ship tweaks in minutes. And the humans bring a domain smartness, so that business logic to it, user empathy that AI just cannot do. Now, after that morning, midday comes, prototype sprint might be there. This could be a verbal brief to a clickable demo in 60 minutes. Things like it could be, looks like a lovable or a cursor handle mobile first churn dashboard. That would be pretty funky. Engineers can do audit code, layer security, and there's no Figma to dev friction. In the afternoon, there might be some evaluations and prioritizations. Maybe AI helps to rank the top 3 weekly things that happen for latency and bias risks. Team, maybe they decide to override some strategy, really putting in that stamp of approval. And then AI will do some surveys, do some auto security scans, and also stakeholder sign-offs. Now, the end of the day comes, so 5 p.m. for most. That might be the reflection loop. Agents log decisions for the audit. Humans tag wins, losses to train the model. And then this really apparently will save about 40 to 50% of time. And everyone can actually rest. And the AI can continue working throughout the night if needed. It's an interesting model. It's interesting to see how they say it works out there and how some businesses are using it. I can see huge benefits definitely in a lot of the more web world. I'm not sure how it would transcend to more physical, but it depends on your stack. So none of this works without that right stack. Fragmented tools are dead. AI first platforms are beginning to really rule the roost. So with research, you've got Fireflies, Granola, Claude for synthesis, PIDs. You can use ChatGPT projects, auto-linked code, prototyping, so lovable no-code UIs, other agents, Dev, Claude, Devon, Copilot for boilerplate, etc. Now, back end, there's a whole pile of things that you could utilize for multi-step agents like LangChain or Crew AI. Now, when it comes to actually training, deploy, and monitor, that might be something more like an ML ops, maybe versus weights and biases and tectong. That's tectong. Sounds very weird saying it out loud. And evaluations. But what I'm trying to say is there's a whole pile of tools out there that can help you with all different things, from multi-stepping to training, deploying, output gates. But the PM needs a full stack literacy, and that's chain of thought prompts, that code review, sovereignty of the AI for compliance. And if you can, something that's a bit observable, so where it traces every decision, maybe Langsmith or something. But again, it's about starting somewhere and working with your tech stack and your tech team and all your different people about what's needed and how it's needed. There's a whole pile of different ways you can pull it together, and there are pitfalls as well, particularly if you don't do the right tech stack or you don't connect everything together. Now, a fintech, this is an example, so a few case studies here. There's a case study about a fintech that automates email tagging too soon. And unfortunately, because it's done that, the concept meant that they went off target by $200,000 in costs with 3 months of rework. And this was because drift detection on day one wasn't identified. Another one that we can learn from as well is an e-com piles AI on legacy pipes. Now, there's degradation, silent degradation, failed updates because they were using a really old type of AI chat tool. And ultimately, it was because no governance of all those rituals. You really need to have ownership on them. These examples really highlight that, yes, AI can help you, but if you don't do it right, things will fail. This, and really organizations are here, but they demand discipline. Now, there's many different workflows that can work for you depending on what your needs are. But again, it comes down to ensuring that you have the right tech stack and the people behind it, and that you actually do audit it as you go along. I hope this podcast helped you a little bit more in understanding how AI tools, rituals, and learning from some hard lessons can actually bring about better things. Morning rituals, prototyping, prioritization, and evaluations really must be part of this and be part of your daily rituals where possible. Whether they're small or large, that depends on what you're doing. Thank you for listening to this podcast from More to Marketing. Don't forget to like to hear more in the future. More to Marketing.